This is Christine Brown, and while I have to listen to this podcast as my motherly duty, you have the choice not to. My sons sometimes say some naughty things when they're trying to be funny, but really, they're just being stupid. Do you still want to listen? Go right ahead. I am not your mother.
All right, welcome back to the Patriots Dynasty podcast. We are back in 2005. We're no longer interviewing famous people. We are on week, I don't even know anymore. It's been so long. Week 3. Patriots, that's right. Heading to Pittsburgh, the site of the last place that they lost last season. And also the place that they won in the AFC Championship game last season. To the point where Belichick was saying that playing the Pittsburgh Steelers feels like playing a divisional team at this point because they play so often. With me, as always, is none of the brothers because they are losers. But luckily, we have Tim the Intern, as always. So, Tim, thanks for joining us again, bud.
Anytime.
It's a good job you're here because I don't think people listen to this if it was just me. I've tried it. It doesn't.
Yeah, they are some of the more, skippable episodes, but they are the most thoroughly gone through episodes.
That's probably true. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just the one, so I learned my lesson. So thanks for joining us. And you actually watched the game too, which is nice. So we can both talk about it. So let's start at the beginning. Coming into this game, the Steelers undefeated, 2-0 on this early season, and looking pretty good. They're a hot team, and this is actually the Steelers team that would win the Super Bowl over the Seahawks, which was one of my least favorite Super Bowls from this era. Like, even if the Patriots weren't in it, I'd still enjoyed watching them, except for this one for some reason. I don't know what it was. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, I just remember being the big Sean Alexander fan and Matt Hasselbeck because he went to BC and
right. Yeah, local.
You know that they have to talk about that hundreds of times.
Of course, yeah.
But I was I was obviously against Roethlisberger, so I was pulling for the Seahawks in that one. But to say, I definitely don't remember anything from it.
Yeah,
I don't think it was very exciting.
It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But in terms of not that exciting, this Steelers team actually started off a little rocky. Obviously, they started off undefeated, but spoiler alert, they're going to lose this game to a very undermanned Patriots team, which we'll get into. But the Steelers actually started 7-5 on the season and were in danger of missing the playoffs. But they managed to beat the Bears in early December, which started a 4-game winning streak where they finished the season 11-5. They were the 6th seed wildcard team, and I believe were the first team to go win the Super Bowl, winning all 3 games on the road. So they beat the number 3 seed Bengals in the wild card, and then the top seeded Colts, and then the number 2 seed Broncos in three back-to-back weeks. Yeah. I believe that Colts game, wasn't that the one where Vanderjagt missed the field goal and they brought out the whole Peyton Manning throwing him under the bus? I think that was that game against the Bills. Against the Steelers here in the playoffs.
I vaguely remember that.
I remember Jerome Bettis fumbled on the 1-yard line and the Colts recovered and were trying to return it for a touchdown, but I think Roethlisberger chased him down. And then it set up a field goal attempt instead of just an easy touchdown. And then Vanderjagt missed it and they lost by 2 or 3. It was 21-18 is what they lost.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I do remember that now.
Yeah. And then Peyton Manning called him a drunk, basically.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, good times. So we did get that out of the season. But yeah, this Steelers team would win the Super Bowl. Believe it or not. They had pretty, I think we've talked about it in the past, but it's kind of the same still, the pretty stacked coaching staff in here.
Yeah.
Obviously Bill Cowher still running this team. But the only time Cowher would beat the Patriots was that last season's blowout in Pittsburgh to end the win streak. And his other 4 attempts were losses, including this one. The defensive coordinator was Dick LeBeau, who was a not great head coach of the Bengals for 3 years before this, actually, in 2000, 2002, where he went 12-33, which is not good. But he was that guy who was just like the defensive coordinator for the Steelers forever. So from 2004 all the way through 2012. And their defensive ranks during those years were just like mind-boggling. Let's see, 2004. So in yards, they were never less. They were always in the top 10 in defensive yards. And they were in the top 10 every year except for 2 in the top 10 for points against. 2006 they were 11th, and 2009 they were 12th. Otherwise they were 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 6. So this was
it's insane to look at that graphic and see they're 1-1, like first in yards and first in points.
Yeah,
3 different times.
Exactly. It is,
and they only missed that 2 more times by 1 place. That's
the first and second, and then
defense.
second and first. Yeah, like an absolutely dominant defense.
Yeah,
like for those 8 years, which is crazy. They also had the offensive coordinator Ken Wisenhunt, who was the Cardinals and Titans head coach between like 2007 and 2015. Wasn't good at either of those, but decent offensive coordinator. And then the other notable assistant is their wide receivers coach. You may know the name Bruce Arians, who Brady dragged to a Super Bowl recently. Mm-hmm. He's also the Colts interim head coach and the Cardinals head coach and all that. We all know about him.
Yeah, he looks great in a scally cap.
He thinks he does. I don't think anybody does, except Irish people from Southie.
Yeah.
Only people where that works. Yeah, the Steelers pretty loaded team. And they have been like this early 2000s season, especially with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm. This year he wasn't as great. I feel like he may have gotten hurt because there were some other quarterbacks that had stats in this season. Tommy Maddox, I believe it was. Yeah. But he only threw for like 2,300 yards and 17 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, which is okay. But
I thought that was low when I was looking at that. It looked weird.
Yeah, but even like the wide receivers didn't have a ton of like yards. Like their top receiver was Heinz Ward with 975, which is okay. But they scored a bunch of points. Fast Willie Parker, I believe this is his first season on the Steelers. He ran for 1,200 yards and had 4 touchdowns, but they still had Jerome Bettis going 368 yards, 9 touchdowns.
Just
which
a
is pretty impressive.
Vulture right there.
Right? Jesus. And Heinz Ward had 11 touchdowns, and Heath Miller also had 6 touchdowns as well.
Yeah, and
so they weren't putting up yards, but they were putting up points in bunches. Probably because of this fantastic defense, now that I think about it.
Right.
And also they had Antoine Randall L, young Antoine Randall L, returning punts. He averaged like 10 yards a punt, and he had 2 touchdowns on the season. So like they kind of well-rounded all the way through. Their defense is obviously the star. Troy Polamalu, Ike Taylor, Deshae Townsend, Joey Porter, Clark Haggins, like all these guys are just like fucking putting up.
And Haggins was nasty in this game. 2 forced fumbles.
I mean, he had 9 sacks and 4 forced fumbles on the season.
Yeah.
Joey Porter, I think, led the team with 10.5 sacks. So it's like, and 4 forced fumbles and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and the names that you heard too, like they were all like, what was the dude's name? Olalafu or something like that. I remember his name.
Yeah.
And then you remember who was in the middle? Chris Hampton.
Yep.
And then something Smith. Like they were all just like those dominant Steeler team names.
Yeah, the typical Steeler linebacker.
Oh, Casey Hampton.
Yes. So I mean, they sent Casey Hampton, Joey Porter, and Troy Polamalu, like the middle of their defense, to the Pro Bowl. and a couple of offensive linemen as well. So this is a stacked team. And they came into this game like red hot too. Like they had blown out the Titans week 1, 34-7. They blew out the Texans 27-7 week 2. And they'd already put up 300 yards on the ground without turning the ball over on offense yet in 2 games. So they're just like running down people's throats. The defense had created 5 turns. So they're +5 in the turnover category in 2 games and have run for, I think one game was like over 100 and the second game was over 200 yards. Like just stupid numbers. And they have the bye, an early bye after this Pats game. So like this is their last game before the bye. So I mean, they should, and they're playing at home, and it's the Pats who just beat them. Like this is their AFC Championship like revenge game. You think they would be coming out firing, and didn't happen. It was I don't know. It was one of those games, and we're almost started talking about it before we started recording because you asked me like, how do you think Brady did? And this felt like one of those games where the Patriots shouldn't have won it and didn't look very good, but still, like at the end of the game, you're like, wait, they won this game. Because I think you were saying that too. Is like you were rewatching and like expecting them to lose, and then at the end, they're like, wait, they won. I thought this was a different game.
Right. Yeah.
And I had the same thing. I was one of those ones where I went back and checked the like Pro Football Reference to see like what the final score was. I'm like, no, I thought they won this. No, they did. How did they win this? Like because the big news of this game that we're kind of dancing around just because neither of us want to talk about it, I think, is this is also, I think, one of those games where it was the death knell of the season in terms of like Super Bowl aspirations, because this is the game that Rodney Harrison goes down and is out for the rest of the season on just like a real awful looking like guy comes rolling into the side of his knee as he's going in the opposite direction, and just like you can just tell like he's on the ground writhing in pain holding his knee. He gets carted off, and then of course the Patriots say that he's questionable to return. Like of course, there's no question about that. And then he was eventually like at the half, because this happened I think in the first quarter, and then at the half he was downgraded to out. No kidding. Right. So yeah, that was
I mean, tough. The guy's crying as he's getting carted off. Like he knows his season is over.
Yeah, Rodney Harrison of all people, who 2 Super Bowls ago made a game-saving tackle with a broken shoulder and was like in a sling after the game, is out there like crying as he's getting carted off. And then a few drives later, Matt Light, he goes down, gets carted off, even worse. So now you got rookie Nick Kazher in. Also, Matt Light was. Can you guess what his status was from the Patriots sideline? Questionable. Correct. And then
did he end up being out for the season after that?
I don't remember. I think we're gonna have to look that up because
we'll find out next week.
Yeah, right, exactly. I feel like he might have. But also the man that we talked to last week. It's a good job we talked to him before this game because he doesn't come back, I don't believe, right? This season. So the last time we saw him was the last time we saw him, or we will see him, because
he wasn't even in the last game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I think he's out for a season, even though he's kind of like questionable all the way through.
Yeah.
But Dwayne Starks is in for him, and he goes down on the first play, like crumples down the first play. Chad Scott of all people comes in. Chad Scott, former Pittsburgh Steeler, which they could not stop mentioning, is now in. And then Starks comes back, and then who was the other Scott? Gus Scott, yeah, fucking Michael Scott. Who the hell cares? Like it's like they're just like throwing people in there. So Gus Scott is in there at safety because Rodney Harrison is out, and then Gus Scott goes down, and so now they have Chad Scott, a cornerback, playing safety, who's like third string, and you would think that this would result in, Ben Roethlisberger, prime Ben Roethlisberger, prime annoying Ben Roethlisberger in my eyes. You think he would go off, but he finished with, all right, over under 300 yards.
Under.
What do you think? Under. Over under 250.
Under.
Ooh, over under 200.
Under.
Oh, he's so close. 216.
Ah,
12 for 28, 216, 2 touchdowns, 4 sacks.
okay, because I remember late in I have a vivid picture of a graphic that said he was like 9 for 21 for 176 yards, and I thought he never passed it after that.
That may have been right before his last.
Yeah.
He was just,
I think that was on their touchdown drive, so
Yeah,
I
I
should
think
have
it probably
figured it
was,
was a little more. Yeah. Which,
So,
oh
yeah.
my God, every time Heinz Ward scores, he's very hateable face.
I am not a fan of Heinz Ward, and this was not a great game because he scored 2 touchdowns, and one was an 80-yard bomb. So the Patriots scored first, opened the scoring in the first quarter with a quality drive down the field. Start running it and then working the play action. Dillon scores a touchdown, which is nice because he's had trouble getting going early in the season. And then the next play, like Pittsburgh's first play from scrimmage on the next drive, is an 85-yard touchdown pass where he
Yeah, it was bad.
beats our favorite boy, Asante Samuel, who tried to dive for the interception and missed it, and he was in single coverage with no help. And I think he kind of like almost tackled the safety too a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I think Gus Scott was in pursuit, and
Heinz Ward just like was able to just run for the touchdown unimpeded. So it was just like that kind of game. And when I say I'm talking about like Big Ben being like obnoxious, it's one of those games where he was just like so big and so strong that the Patriots had so many free rushers like directly in his face, and you would just step around him. They'd still grab him with both hands, and he would just kind of just like toss him to the side as if like you or me were playing with like 6-year-olds. You know, he's kind of like, yeah,
right.
You got me. I'm just gonna just like
I had the same
toss
thing
you
right.
away. Yeah, and then like scramble and throw the most ugly duck, and somehow it would get completed. It's like, I hate you.
Well, I felt the opposite of that, because I felt like classic him is where he is able to get a 300-pound man off of him, and then he makes the play. I feel like in a lot of the situations there were a lot of broken plays, and he was throwing terrible balls that were getting incompleted, because he almost threw an interception to Seymour at the end of it.
Yeah. Doink. Actually, it's funny you say that, because I grabbed a clip of the commentators talking about that on, like, I think it was directly after that play.
Okay.
Okay.
Had good coverage on Cedric Wilson. Roethlisberger's going to need a vacation after this.
It's like playing golf. You could relate to this. Once you hit 6 or 7 bad shots in a row, it's just hard to make a good swing after that.
You know I can relate to that.
Yeah, but that's what happens on offense. You lose your confidence. And the coaches, they lose confidence too. They're over there going, well, what can we call that's going to work? So it doubles your misery.
Doubles your misery, he says. Oh boy. But yeah, I mean, I think he had gone like for his last 6 or something like that, which is why they brought up the number 6. But yeah, I know that you're a golf guy, so I brought that in just for you. But yeah, I mean, this was just like, you're right, it was bad, but he was getting hounded on every single pass play. With 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen on this team, which is like this. I think this game was won by the defensive front 7.
Easily.
Because, I mean, I don't think I could name who finished playing in the backfield on defense. Like at corners and safety. I don't know who actually finished the game playing that. But it didn't matter, because Seymour and Vrabel and Willie McGinnis were just all over Roethlisberger the entire game. All over, like, I mean, they tried some trick plays. They tried like the reverse, got blown up.
Yeah.
Whoever it was trying to run the reverse, ran for like 25 yards.
Yeah, I think it was Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, and got back to.
And he danced around a few guys too, but he still ended up losing yards.
Yeah, exactly. And it was it was just one of those. It's what I remember from those great Patriots defenses, just like that absolutely smothering pressure that they could get.
Yeah.
Without even like bringing any extra guys too. It wasn't like they were blitzing a lot or anything. It was just like they're lining up 3-4 guys, hand on the ground, just like coming after you. And Richard Seymour was just bodying people. because he was the one that I think was probably the most frustrated by Ben Roethlisberger, because he had his hands on him all day.
Yeah. When he came through, I think it was the end of the third quarter, and got that sack. He was flexing. He was very fired up. Yeah,
he was so excited,
and that gets me fired up because I know he was frustrated at that time because they kept putting him in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
He gets those sacks. He eats those.
So he wasn't getting the numbers he wanted, and he also had a sack at the beginning or earlier in the game, like in the first quarter, but it got nullified because he got a handful of face masks too.
Right. Yep.
So it was definitely won by the defensive front seven, and then going back to you talking about Tom Brady, I thought, again, it was one of those games where he didn't like stand out particularly. He struggled for a lot of games. He had I think he got sacked a bunch of times. I got sacked 3 times. But he was under pressure.
There was a lot of pressure, all day. Just the same thing on the opposite side.
But I feel like it was against the Panthers last week. I felt like they were trying to get the ball as quickly as possible because they knew that pressure was coming. But in this game, like it felt like they were just letting Brady deal with it. Like, you're going to get pressure. Like, just see what you can do. And that was like a completely different approach, which this approach usually works. And it was one of those things where, like, I feel like the Steelers did a pretty good job, but it was one of those things where eventually Brady's going to Brady, and then he did in the fourth quarter.
Because did you have that stat line that he had in the fourth?
I don't think I do. What was it? Give it to me.
I think he went 12 for 12 in the fourth quarter with like 156 yards or something like that.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And he ended up finishing the game with over 300 yards, which I was very surprised by.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, but David Gibbons.
That's exactly what it was. So his numbers: 31 of 41 for 372, no touchdowns, 1 interception. It was one of those kind of up and down games that the Patriots had 2 turnovers in the red zone in the first half.
Yep.
Was it Kevin Falk fumbled a long screenplay? It was a 20, 30-yard screenplay that got him inside the 5, and he fumbled it there.
Yeah.
Sucked. And then Brady had a ball tipped to the line, going into the half, and that got intercepted. So it's just one of those awkward games. But you're right, David Givens, 9 catches on 13 targets, 130 yards. Just man. Yeah. That was awesome. And that, I feel like we haven't heard a lot from David Givens lately. It's been mostly the Deion Branch show. I feel like he was
with a little bit of Troy Brown in there too.
Yeah. There was definitely still that security blanket aspect of Troy Brown here.
Yeah.
When Brady needed a third down, he's like, "Fuck it, where's Troy?
Where's 80 at?"
Exactly. Yeah, and Troy, he had 4 catches on 5 targets for 43 yards. That's Troy Brown. He's going to catch.
Yeah, that's the Troy Brown stat line for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and how many of those were third down conversions? Probably all 4 of them. Right. But yeah, it was just one of those things where the Patriots scored the touchdown on the first drive, and then didn't score again on any drive until 51 seconds left in the third quarter, where they just kicked a field goal. Vinatieri missed one from over 50, which is what you do at Heinz Field as a tradition. Mm-hmm. I believe I can't remember who the kicker is for the Steelers.
I think
Jeff
it's
Reed.
Reed. Yeah,
he missed a 52-yarder as well or something.
Yeah, I think at that time they were saying that they both had the longest, and it was 48 yards.
Yeah. This was still the time when nobody had kicked a 50-yarder in Heinz Field. Yeah, which I don't quite understand, but whatever. I guess it's just a shitty field. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but even after all that, so the Patriots, their drives: touchdown, punt, fumble, punt, interception, miss field goal, fumble, punt, and they're down 13-7 because their defense.
Yeah. It was insane. It was just insane how the defense just kept them in it, and it was just the Patriots offense just kept stumbling, or the special teams. I feel like with this team so far, there's always one facet of the game that they're struggling with, and it's usually the special teams that's failing them
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect. The punt coverage has just been not good the first couple of weeks.
Not good.
And they put them in bad positions for the defense. The defense has been so good, but they've been put in so many bad situations that sometimes they end up giving up points. You know what I mean?
Just because they've started in field goal range.
Right. Yeah. Because I have a stat that I was looking up because I was getting aggravated. So through the first 3 weeks, the opponent started in New England territory 5 times, resulting in 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. And 2 were because of return punts, and then 1 was because of that blocked punt against Oakland.
Yep.
And then 2 fumbles. So not good.
I agree. Yeah, it was one of those things, but again, it's kind of similar to, Brady's going to Brady when he needs it. I felt like the defense kind of did the same sort of thing, where, the Patriots finally in the fourth quarter, they actually scored on every single fourth quarter drive they had. They scored the last 4 drives of the game. That one right at the end of the third quarter, and then touchdown, field goal to end it. But the Patriots, Brady finally breaks out, and they go on start on their own 14-yard line. And so they go on a huge drive. Brady just finally starts connecting everybody. Finally score a touchdown with Corey Dillon, and then the Patriots defense comes out and just gets 3 basic consecutive sacks on Ben Roethlisberger. And he just gets harassed the entire game. So I felt like it was just when the team needed, they would all kind of do it at the same time, they'd all kind of step it up right at the end there in that fourth quarter.
Those timely Patriot,
exactly,
Patriot way plays.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's just this idea of, we're going to win.
Your back's against the wall.
Yeah, so now's the time to do it. And there's never any real discussion of, or even thought that, well, we're not going to win this. Of course we're going to win this. It's just we got to make some plays now. So let's just go and do it. And then they go and do it. And it's almost business-like in a way. And I'm sure if Greg would listen to this, he would be complaining or calling me something about footy pajamas. But this is, it's what we got used to. So just watching the games now, even this past season, and that wasn't there, and it felt really strange, to be well, maybe we won't win this. In fact, we're not supposed to win this anymore.
Yeah, because I think that mindset has now creeped into my mind. So a game like this, I'm they're not going to pull this out.
Right, exactly.
They just don't do that. Yeah. It's thank God we have Tom Brady to rely on in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But I will say the one bright spot, just go back to your special teams comment, is the kick returning of Ellis Hobbs, especially. He looks like he's going to break it pretty much every time he touches the ball. And is this his rookie season?
This is his rookie season.
Yeah, 2005.
Tim Dwight as well in the punt returning. Oh
Absolutely.
my God, when he touches the ball, dude, I get so fired up. He's been my MVP throughout the season so far. He's electric.
He is. Yeah, he is. He has absolutely no awareness of danger whatsoever. He just will put his body in any situation. Does not matter.
Yeah, they were saying that in the commentary, and I was getting very annoyed. I did have a note somewhere that I think it was after the pooch punt. I don't know what it was, but I just go, Phil Simms is so annoying, and I hope that Andy is hating it too.
I can promise you I was. I may not even remember it, but I can promise you I was.
Yeah, he just, I don't know, he just crawls up the wrong pipe for me, and I just don't like it. I can't.
Yeah.
But they were saying that when he returned one of those punts, back into, I think it was into Pittsburgh territory, he just gets the ball, he puts his head down, and he just goes downhill. He just goes for it.
Yeah. He's not trying to necessarily avoid anybody.
Yeah.
He's just more pinballing off them. Yeah. Which I feel like Ellis Hobbs is kind of similar. He would just run full tilt, try to find a hole, and if it's there, great. And if it's not, he'll just kind of try sneak through anyway. Just he's getting dragged down from behind just about every time. Just getting ragdolled at the end of every return. Like, ooh, I don't know how he survived as long as he did.
Right.
But I mean, good for him. But you did touch on something there that I think we probably should talk about, and that is Big Ben and his moonlighting as a punter, because this was the first punt of his career, but it was not the last. So yeah, in the second quarter, the Steelers where are they? They're kind of like in Page's territory, like in that kind of like it's fourth down and medium, right around the 40. So you're not going to kick a field goal because it's Heinz Field,
Right.
But like a punt's not really going to do much, so they actually send him out to pooch it, and he drops it at he drops it inside the 5, but it takes a bounce and rolls in the end zone. Almost a great play by whoever the special teams like touch man was.
Yeah.
But doesn't quite get it. But he does it. How many more times? A handful.
A couple more
at the very
times.
least.
Did he do it in a playoff game?
He does it Monday night against the Ravens, where he pins it on the 1.
Okay.
And then he does it against the Bills, where it goes in the end zone. Against Cincinnati, where he gets it down inside the 5. And then who's this against? This is against the Browns. He does it all his divisional foes. Sticks on the 1.
None of them are in. Did they say the dates of those games?
This is just a video, so it's not showing the dates.
Oh, okay.
I will post the video. But he is, believe it or not, a lefty punter.
Oh.
So I do think he has another punt. I believe the second one is in this season, again, in this 2005. So he punted twice this season.
Yeah, I think I remember thinking that was illegal. Like as a kid, like you can't do that.
I know.
He's a quarterback. You can't do that.
Yeah, you have to tell people you're punting. This is illegal.
I was Jim Harbaugh.
Or maybe Jim Harbaugh is just you. He's channeling his inner Tim, his inner child Tim.
Yeah, there we go. I like that better.
Sideline. Yeah, me too. So yeah, I'll post that video because it's a little surprising that Belichick did not draft Ben Roethlisberger when he had the chance, knowing that he was a left-footed punter. So
right,
if we ever have Bill Belichick on, we'll add that question to the list of was Ben Roethlisberger the one that got away? Being
Did you hear what they were saying? What he was going to do on the bye week? Did you catch that?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think it was Jim Nantz. He says, yeah, and Roethlisberger, he's going to go back to Youngstown, Ohio, and he's going to be the chauffeur for his sister's prom.
Oh, that's right.
Roethlisberger, just he's that guy's a stand-up guy.
Isn't
on his bye week, dude, you have the money, just get a chauffeur for her.
Right. No, he wants to be the guy that provides his sister's friends with booze because that's
right. Yeah,
stand-up guy.
Yeah, Roethlisberger would be that guy,
wouldn't he? He probably still is.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh God. All right. So where are we? What else? So yeah, this Patriots defense absolutely stoned this at the time red hot Steelers offense, like we talked about. Willie Parker, fast Willie Parker, had back-to-back 100-yard performance start season, averaging 5.8 yards per carry over 2 games. This game, he doesn't. I don't know if the Patriots, they probably made it their, point of emphasis, if you will. But he ended up with 17 carries. Any guesses on the yards? Over under 50.
Over.
Just barely. 55 yards on 17 carries. Longest of 11. I mean, he's at the beginning, he started and looked okay. He looked like he was averaging that 5.3 yards a carry. But they went away from it real fast, it felt like. They didn't have many other. Like Ben Roethlisberger was the second leading rusher, 3 carries, 17 yards. And those are usually broken plays. So, none of those were designed. He just took off when he needed to. But they finished with 23 carries, 79 total yards. Patriots had 30 carries for 80 yards. So not exactly a ground game. But yeah, this was kind of one of those it
was one of those patient games because I remember on the first drive, like he like initially gets stopped and then he just waits a second and then cuts. And he just had me so fired up on that first drive. Like he really got me fired up because it looked like they were really committing to the run and making improvements. Like this is one of those games where when they preach that like, that the first 4 weeks are like their second preseason kind of thing. Yep. You can see they're starting to figure it out a little bit, and
this is week 3 of the second preseason. Exactly.
Right. And then of course, when light goes down, that's where everything starts all over again. So they just get staggered in their own way because of their injuries. But like when you look at it and analyze it, like every part of their game is pretty good, except for the special teams is probably the shakiest part, I would say, of the team so far. And then did you ever hear Corey Dillon's nickname?
Mm-mm.
After the first touchdown, they said, "There you go, C-Town." I was like, I never knew that he had a nickname. But
never heard. I somebody may have just made that up. I don't think that's a nickname.
I wonder if it's. I'm gonna stat check that. See if it's on his Pro Football Reference.
It's not bad though. I don't mind that C-Town.
Like, cause he was a big guy. So
yeah. But
as of a town, I'll take that.
But it's not bad. But yeah, I don't know.
Nope. Clock killing Corey Dillon. That's the only thing.
That one I know. Clock killing Corey Dillon. Yeah,
that's about it.
Don't know about C-Town. Oh, maybe we could submit a change request to Pro Football Reference. Like, hey, also he was called C-Town once.
One time.
Put it in there. Nick,
we have it on YouTube.
That's right. Actually, speaking of the defense of the running game and everything, they quoted Rodney Harrison, I don't know if it's the sideline report or whoever it was, talking about how they were planning to set the edge. They didn't want Willie Parker getting outside. Rodney's quote was, "They want to make him go inside so we can hit him." Fucking course you do. That's so Rodney Harrison.
Such a classic Rodney Harrison quote.
You know what he's not going to want to do? Get hit. So we want to get him in the inside so we can hit him.
And he was like on that first drive too, like their first defensive drive.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Vrabel just looked like they were so fired up on that first drive to just like dominate this game. It's just so unfortunate. Yeah, I mean they did throw even without Harrison.
Yeah.
I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to hold this Pittsburgh team, who had just been like blowing the doors off of people, to under 100 rushing yards and 20 points.
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh, the place where they had gotten blown out like last season, was kind of amazing.
And they got blown out because of someone in the secondary,
going down. Exactly, yeah,
right.
And also not being able to run the ball.
Right. Yeah.
Because that was when they had like 4 rushing yards or something like that. Because
Corey Dillon didn't play that game. Yeah. So and they rushed it like I think 5 times
it was like 4 or 5
times for 5 yards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. Something like stupid. And they just like stopped running. And they kind of did that in the fourth quarter here but I mean they kind of stuck with it through the first half ish. But then as soon as Brady just like, all right, it's time to stop fucking around. Goes 5 for 5 on an 86-yard drive. Great. But again, those are kind of almost stats that don't show up because it was finished by a Corey Dillon 7-yard touchdown run, So Brady, I feel like I saw a stat somewhere because, there's all these people trying to convince themselves that some other quarterback is better than Tom Brady in some way.
Right.
Which, obviously isn't. But there was some stat, I think I saw it on Twitter or something, where the amount of short like touchdown runs to finish drives, Tom Brady's team has like 2 or 3 times more than any other like top quarterback does. It's like 40.
Which is, I'm glad that there's a stat out there like that because there are so many times where like he throws a bomb, tackled at like the 3, and he's like,
and then they just run it in. They run it 3 times.
I'm the team guy. I want the team to win.
Yeah, I mean, what was that season? Was it 2014 or something when LeGarrette Blount set the Patriots record for rushing touchdowns, and most of them were like 1 or 2 yards.
Right. Yep.
They just had and that was how it was. Like Brady would drive you on the field, and then they would just hand it off to run it in. Whereas in like peak Peyton Manning times, you see him throwing it 3 times from the 4-yard line to like make sure he gets the passing touchdown. You know?
Yeah, that's why he's the stat pattern.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Especially in a dome.
Hmm.
All right. So let's see what else happened in this game. Anything exciting? There was a Bethel Johnson sighting. He returned one of the kickoffs, so he was out of his doghouse.
Yep.
I don't know how long that'll last, but that's a good time. Let's see. I'm going to give you. They interviewed Bill Belichick coming out of the locker room, as they do, pretty much every time at the half.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know what he thought about the injuries in the first half.
Well, I tried to get a sense from him as to how the team loses without a left tackle in Matt Light and without a safety in Rodney Harrison. And you know what Belichick said? He said, look, guys get hurt all the time. We put other guys in. It's not like we have time to make a roster move. But disappointed in general, the turnovers in offense, not playing fierce enough on defense. Bill Belichick, not a happy man right now, Jim.
Also, they're down 10-7 at the half. Having lost their starting left tackle and their heart of their defense. And having turned the ball over twice in the red zone, they're down 10-7. But that's just such a Belichick line. It's not like we can make a roster move right now. It's like, no shit. No shit.
Like, just such a condescending prick,
Do you need to?
Like,
I mean, those two guys are still questionable, right?
Well, yeah, according to you. Exactly.
So it's just like, just what he does all the time. Like he hasn't changed. Like, all these people are like, oh, he's gotten to be an asshole now that they're not winning. Like, no, this is just who he's always
I think
been.
He's pushed the line, though. He's become more of an asshole, but he has always been that route. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he has.
I think he's just the same guy. The people, I think the media around him is getting more. I feel like they almost like smell blood in the water because he's been this asshole for so long that they're starting to like take more shots at him, and so it's just like he has more opportunity to answer like that. But he's gonna answer like that, regardless. Like, he just is who he is. I think. All right, what else we got? Who else? Yeah. This was a fun little stat. I don't know if you picked up on this. I'm talking about when Corey Dillon came to New England from, like, when the Patriots traded for him from Bengals. If you remember, the Bengals head coach at the time was the Steelers defensive coordinator, Dick LeBeau. And Dick LeBeau was the one that actually vouched for Dillon when the Patriots asked about him. And so, Dick LeBeau actually put his pride aside and like, no, this guy actually, he's an awesome dude. Just had a shitty situation. He'll do great if he goes play for you. And lo and behold, he did. So I thought that was kind of like a cool little, like, inside baseball sort of thing,
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
And I bet that happens like
that connection
all the time too, especially between coaches. Like, if Belichick calls up fucking, any of those coaches out there, and be like, hey, listen, I want to trade for this guy, but like, give me it's like, is it worth it? I mean, you're probably going to get a straight answer. Yeah. And I bet it works the other way around too, Like, if somebody's like, hey, let me trade for Gronk, even though he's retired. What do you think? You'll be like, yeah, fucking, I'm sure he's still got something in the tank. Yeah. He wants to play with Tom Brady. He wants to play somewhere warm. So yeah, I think he probably should. And that worked out too. On the other sideline, though, you have Bill Cowher, who literally said, he was quoted by the commentators saying that the Steelers didn't have a good week of practice, but it's okay because they could see that made Cowher mad. So they're going to play fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if he's mad, then they play good.
Yeah. And it didn't happen. Yeah. The one thing I did notice that I thought was a bit of a surprise, I don't know if this was a surprise to you too, when they're talking about Ben Roethlisberger and his record, he had never lost in the regular season before this game. This was his first ever regular season loss.
Wow. I forgot about that.
Right.
Because when I heard it the first time, I was like, oh, well, that doesn't end today because they win. I was so convinced that the Patriots are going to lose.
Yeah, so the Patriots ended both of his NFL winning streaks because they beat him in the playoffs last year and then again here. So I can't imagine he's a big fan, Ben Roethlisberger, of the New England Patriots.
No, probably not. We're okay with that, though.
Also, he was I grabbed a screenshot. I think it was in the fourth quarter where he's been sacked 3 times, hurried 13 times, and knocked down 6. And that felt generous. I thought. I felt like those numbers weren't quite high enough. But yeah. So I think that's what I have for this game. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I have. So to kind of like go back more into Corey Dillon, because coming into this game, he was just like, things weren't really going well for him. And I found an interesting article from the Globe where he says it was kind of just explaining that game in Oakland where, he was kind of frustrated on the sideline after that first drive. And
like Brady was trying to calm him down, right?
Yeah. So it said the quarterback later explained he was merely telling Dillon not to get down on himself. So this is a quote from Dillon. Quote, people read into that, I guess, what Dillon said. But I don't really care. It was nothing. It was Brady offering support. I don't know how it looked on television because I haven't seen it, but it wasn't anything negative. It didn't get close to that point. I'd die on the field for that guy, and I know he'd do the same for me.
Whoa, hot damn.
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right. You guys are really tight. I didn't realize that after one season, you're going to die on the field for the man. All right. Damn. I love that, Corey Dillon. Let's go.
Yeah, and I will say Corey Dillon in this game had some blitz pickups where he was like tossing whoever that middle. I think it was at one point Joey Porter. They were just up.
It was Larry Foote. It was the I made a note of that because it was a great I don't know what down it was. I think it was like maybe a second or a third down. And got it to David Gibbons. He upended that dude. That was sick.
And that was on that great visual drive. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, because the camera angle too, like from behind Brady, like you saw this, like the feet go up and then Brady threw this like perfect ball to Gibbons on the sideline where he dragged his feet. It was just like the perfect play. Like everybody did exactly their job, exactly the way he should have.
Oh yeah.
It was just, it was so good. Yeah. And he had a couple of those on that drive alone. He had some like, it wasn't even just like blitz pickup like you normally see where a running back will just like take the hit and kind of like try to fall over and bring the guy with him. Like Corey Dillon was like laying the wood. He's like, you want to hit somebody? Come hit me. I'll hit you back. It was awesome. He's like, I get to hit you this time. Like, oh, yeah. That's what you want. That's what you want in blitz pickup. Is somebody who like wants to go hit somebody. And also Corey Dillon about the same size as those linebackers too. It's not like a Kevin Falk who's giving away 50 pounds on these guys. He's just like, it's like, let's do this.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah, I did love that. All right, you got any best and worst for this?
Yeah, I have a few.
All right, let's go.
What should we start with, the worst or the best?
That's up to you, my friend. It depends on how you're feeling. You feeling positive or negative?
I feel positive because I was so negative, so I think I'd rather get the negatives out of the way first and then end up later now. So my worst was obviously the injuries. This was the game that really said to me that like your heroes are human. And it was bad enough with Brewski and then Harrison. I'm just kind of emotional.
I'll also say just to tie on to that, my worst one of them was the fact that when Rodney Harrison went down, the TV crews kept replaying the injury. Like, I don't
they're like, hey,
over and over. Like every time they come back from break, like, look, here it is again. Look, we'll zoom in on his knee so you can see the kneecap shatter. Like,
we'll use the same exact angle every single time. No new angle. Just watch this crater.
Yeah. It's awful. Watch this man's career end. Look.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, I agree.
My other worst was Phil Simms.
Nice.
He's Phil Simms.
Yeah, I don't need a reason. Feel free to give one, but that's enough for me.
Yeah, if you don't like it, sue me. And then my other worst was just Daniel Graham's hand. That he just bobbled one that just like went into the Steelers' hands. I don't know if they ended up catching it. I don't know if it turned into an interception, but I was just like,
I don't think it did, but yeah.
Come on, man. Just hold on to it.
Yeah. He was targeted twice and had no catches.
Yeah.
And it's like that, like what Belichick always seems to be looking for in that dual tight end. And he had like all of the tools except for the hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like this time he was pre-Gronk. So he was like the next coming of Ben Coates, basically.
Right.
He was that with him. He was, Gronk before Gronk.
Right.
That big guy who could run and can get open and can catch and can also block.
Right.
And Daniel Graham, he just could not catch, but he was always open. And Brady always seemed so frustrated at him not catching the ball. Because, there's even been some plays where Brady like either overthrows him or like throws it to the wrong spot. And I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't throw it to the wrong spot to anybody else. So my guess is that's Graham not being where he needs to be,
right?
Or where he's supposed, or where Brady's expecting him to go. Because I remember hearing something about. Sorry, just to go on a tangent on that. Of I can't remember which wide receiver it was. It was one of those guys like the journeyman who would like play for a bunch of other teams and came to the Patriots late.
Joey Galloway.
No, someone who stuck around. Who was the guy that has a picture of him like smiling as he's diving into the end zone to score a touchdown? Remember that picture? So bad with names.
What year?
Later on, probably 2014-ish, 2016, that sort of time frame. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah,
it'll come to me as soon as we end this podcast. That's how names work with me. But he was on like some other podcast, I think, and he was talking about like how basically the difficulty of being a wide receiver in the Patriots offense was not necessarily knowing what to do, but being able to read the fields the exact same way that Tom Brady did at the speed that he does it, which is really difficult. So like basically you're making decisions as the play is happening, not just like before the ball is snapped, but like, as a wide receiver, like you are like, if the guy starts and he's like playing up on you, but then he sits back, or like the way that you break out of your route, depending on like where is like, if he's shading the inside of you, then all of a sudden the route changes to be like an out instead of like whatever it was originally. And like, it's just like all these like decisions you have to make like during the course of a play is just like like things that you just wouldn't even expect, like how detailed it is. And of course you've seen Tom Brady yell at wide receiver. So like, if you don't get it right, he's going to fucking tell you about it too.
Right.
So I think trying to pick up, I wonder if part of Graham's struggle was not being able to pick that part of it up too,
Right.
And he's kind of like trying to overthink that part. And all of a sudden, like you're thinking so much, you can't fucking catch anymore.
Yeah.
Because he does make catches like, every once in a while. You're like, oh, fuck, that was like a legit catch.
Yeah. If only he could do that on a consistent basis.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not that he can't catch, it's that he just, I don't know. I feel like there was maybe a mental piece in there. But, now I'm playing fucking armchair psychologist. What are you going to do? It's always a good thing,
Yeah.
There's no way that could backfire on me.
No, not at all. But yeah, no, you do make a good point, because it was like guys like Dion, they just had to look at each other. They knew right away that what they wanted to do, they knew what they were seeing, and they could make adjustments on the fly just like that.
Yeah. And that was also part of it too, is like if Brady looked at you, that meant something. And if he looked at you and then like looked at you again, that meant something. But if he looked at you and then something changed, then like it didn't count anymore. It's like, fucking hell. Like I can't
Such a complicated. Yeah.
And of course it's because fucking Tom Brady. But which makes sense why like it took him a while to get up and running in Tampa too, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like trying to bring that with him, and like nobody knows any of that stuff because he doesn't have that like built-in like
rapport.
Yeah, I guess, or just like the history with anybody there,
right?
Except Gronk when he finally came over,
and AB a little bit,
right? Yeah, I suppose. Although AB's got his own issues. All right, what else you got for best and worst?
Well, did you have any of your worst?
I do. I have one more worst, and it was Randall L. in his decision making. Because speaking of turnovers in the red zone, Randall L gets this absolutely, like he gets wide open because Roethlisberger scrambling and he's pump faking, and he's just like, backyard football sort of bullshit that really annoys me and doesn't annoy you. But he actually makes a play and finds Randall L wide the fuck open, and Randall L takes it because he's good in open field, so he takes it down inside the Patriots 10. And as he's about to get tackled, he decides he's going to lateral it to, I think it was Heinz Ward, who was not expecting it.
Yeah,
so he hits
Heinz Ward
between the 8 and the 6, like hits him directly in the chest and just like falls to the ground. The Patriots recover. And I think I did. I have the audio of the commentator.
Perfect. Because I'm so glad you did.
Here we go.
Roethlisberger, look down the middle, goes back again, over the top. Randall L at the 40. 3 at the 20. Cuts back middle and laterals. Why? Why would you do that? Tried to hit Heinz Ward and the ball's loose, and it belongs to New England. Randall L saw Heinz Ward coming down the middle of the field. Of course, Randall L, a former option quarterback at Indiana. Not what they were looking for from the Pittsburgh sideline.
Well, he just misjudged it, Jim. I know the thought was pretty good, but they were moving so fast. That's what made an exchange like that so hard. But what a play by Ben Roethlisberger.
Sims, shut the fuck up. It was a good decision. It was not. Also, I'm not quite sure why.
Tim Nance just going, why?
Why would you do that?
Because Heinz Ward is that receiver that how many crackback blocks does he have? He's looking to smash somebody down the field. He doesn't want the ball.
No. No. And then just like the video of Randall L like getting up from the pile and just not wanting to walk back to the sideline was fantastic. And they keep like cut from that to Bill Cowher just like with his jaw just chewing that chewing gum. Like fucking
the classic Cowher right there.
I love it. I loved all of it. Oh boy. So I think that was both my best and worst. Worst was Randall L's decision making. The best was the commentation of it.
So, want me to do best?
Yeah. So let's hear your best then.
All right, I have a couple of those too. One was just being surprised that they won. It was really good to watch that and be surprised.
Oh, we should probably tell them how they won. It was a Vinatieri like last minute field goal.
Oh yeah.
So to win it,
they did it.
Was 43 yards, so not exactly a gimme either, especially since he had missed a 50-something yarder. But he already hit from 48, so you knew it was going in.
Yeah, there was just a lot. Yeah,
especially if
he never misses.
No, he's never missed,
and he's never missed from 01 to 06 when he left.
Other than the one that he missed in this game from 50, but otherwise,
because and that was the other weird part of it too. It's just like how much scoring just happened in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah,
back to back.
Because it hadn't happened up until. Like,
and again,
if you look at the play charts, because
the kick return that they had,
but it was like, the Patriots kicked a field goal, then scored a touchdown, and then the Steelers scored a touchdown. The Patriots kicked a field goal, and then Patriots touchdown, then Patriots field goal, Steelers touchdown, Patriots field goal, and then that was it. So just like back and forth, touchdowns and field goals, everybody scoring. Yeah, just from 3:42. Oh no, never mind. Ignore me. That was the length of the drive. That wasn't how much time was left. Oh,
all right, so my other best
wasn't that.
Other best was Tim Dwight. Just always just stellar whenever he gets the ball in the field.
Or just returning in general. Yeah, the Patriots returners.
Yeah,
a good day. Yeah, Bethel Johnson back, Ellis Hobbs running like a madman, and definitely Tim Dwight for sure.
Yeah, and then my other best was that what we had already kind of touched on that Corey Dillon where he just flips Larry Foote. I just thought
Yeah.
it was so.
That was such a good play.
It was just such a good visual to see that,
Yeah.
and then the ball going to David Gibbons, like
Yeah, because it
Get the
was
two-
like
the
it was a
toe
timing
tap.
thing too, where like Gibbons hadn't even made the cut yet, and Burries
Yeah.
like threw it at the sideline, and Gibbons like turned
Yeah.
around, he was there, hit him right in the hands. He
Steelers
dragged
are
his
saying
feet.
incomplete.
Yeah, it
Ref
was
comes up, does
perfect.
catch, just like
Yeah.
it just hit every point that I needed.
Exactly. Yeah, that highlight will be on the website after this.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely link to that too. Because it was like whoever had that camera angle was like the perfect angle for the entire play. It was so good.
Mm.
I 100% agree. Fantastic. All right. So the Patriots now back in it, 2-1, as are the Pittsburgh Steelers now. And next week they're headed to.
Wait, you didn't have your best.
I did. My best was. What was my best? I don't fuck remember. Good Lord. My best was the commentating on the Randall L.
On the Randall L? Okay, so that was your best. Okay.
And also Brady just going like whatever it was, 12 for 12 in the fourth quarter.
Hmm.
Because they just needed him to. So he's like, all right, fuck it, let's do this. Like, enough fucking around. We're just like a typical Tom Brady bullshit thing. No more bullshit thing, I should say.
Well, I did have I have a couple football and not football.
Ooh, all right.
Wait, not a long list, but
That's all
I
right,
got a
yeah.
couple.
Well,
So,
there was no Deerdorf, so that makes it harder.
Yeah. So just the first one I had was when they came back from the second half, they were talking about high definition, and then Phil Simms just comes over and he says, I want to see every flaw in my body. That's good. Magnify it.
Yeah, I think that's actually legitimately not football. I'm sure
And then
there are a lot of flaws in that body too.
there are a lot.
I
There's
mean,
probably some skin tags.
there's plenty of also. I mean, as somebody who I'm allowed to body shame because I also have a lot of flaws on my body, but yeah, it's that I turn on the the blur filter when we're doing
There you
Zoom
go.
here for this
Yeah.
exact reason. Yeah, nobody needs
It's a
to
good
see high def
filter.
anybody. Yeah.
And then the other one was they were talking about Willie Parker and how in the last time they played, he was being Corey Dillon, like he had to be Corey Dillon. So the quote is, he was Corey Dillon for a week and now he's matched up with him. So I was curious, does football use cosplay or?
I mean, they do wear their names on the back of their shirts, so that's kind of cosplay. But does it count if you're wearing your own name? Because I mean, we wear other people's names on the back of our.
Well, I mean,
shirts.
he may have been wearing Dillon's name during those
maybe.
practices. Yeah, because
interesting.
he's doing that in practice.
So that does feel like cosplay to me. That's
Yeah.
pretty fucking nerdy.
Yeah,
Somebody who is nerdy before is cool. Like that's not cool, man. Like geez, that's like stolen.
you are the
valor.
judge, jury, and executioner on
That's-
that.
That's stolen valor, almost like in the nerddom. Like, you can't be doing that, man. You haven't earned that. That's all I'm gonna
You're
say.
right.
Willie Parker has
Okay.
not earned that nerd cred to be able to do that. So he's dead to me. Willie Parker, dead to me.
Yeah, that's all I had for those.
I like it.
Never as good when you don't have Deodor.
It's just not the same, is it? Or who is it? Randy
No.
Cross, I think, was the one that was full of them. Randy Cross,
Yeah.
he would get dirty with it, like legitimately dirty sometimes. Like I think that's where it started. Was Randy Cross was just like it was noticeable, and then it kept on going from there. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you finding those for us.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot
tried.
of research for Tim the Intern.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to do it because it's not going to be my brothers.
Right.
So, if there's one piece of advice I can give to our listeners, it's don't have brothers. They will always let you down. Right, Mom? Okay. What are they, Mom?
Sometimes a naughty boy.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Both of them.
Very naughty.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom. You always got my back. All right. Next week, Patriots back in Gillette Stadium, taking on Marty Schottenheimer's San Diego Chargers. I remember nothing of this game. And just briefly looking at the box score here. Cool. Do you remember any of it? I remember nothing of 2005. Like 2005 is that season that I feel like just got away. Like I don't remember any of it. Like I remember some of the 2006 stuff, like especially the end of it.
Yeah.
2005, I have no memory of this season. No. So this is kind of cool. Like we're like watching these games fresh. Like it's like, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna win.
Yeah.
So
I
guess we'll all find out together next week.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, until then, we will see you later.
See ya.